Dopirak coming to you from the empty Rupp Arena press box. I think we were the last ones standing.
Perhaps. There's another room of people, and I don't know. They were mad for internet access, so they're probably still writing. So they're probably still here. There was much. There was
things happened.
Things happened. People were yelling, swearing, throwing stuff. It was a madhouse. But they all left here, so we're cool. We have their cards. Woo. Anyway.
Dustin, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Indiana loses 81-62. They were up 57-56. Did not have a field goal the rest of the way.
Nope. Basically, they just went completely cold, and they looked exhausted, too. I mean, they really did. It's weird when you look back at it. This is actually the worst loss to Kentucky in the Tom Crean era, but this game was nothing like those other two games. I mean, I wasn't there for the first one, but obviously last year, it was close for the first half, but in the second half, Kentucky probably could have named it. You knew that they were superior. This game, I mean, Indiana was there the whole way until 9:42, and at that point, just stopped making shots. Kentucky got rolling, and
even then, it was real. I mean, even then, there was about a 5-minute stretch where you were like, okay, well, Kentucky wasn't playing all that great either. No. So Indiana was still a couple of shots.
It was 66-60 with 4:02 left, and that was kind of when it off the rails.
Yeah, I kind of wrote about it. This is pretty much, right now, it's pretty much what to expect. The Hoosiers play hard.
Yeah.
They were committed on offense. They were committed on defense. They were confident.
Yeah.
But that's just not enough sometimes. Kentucky was superior athletically and did what it had to do at the end of the game.
It was the way I looked at it was they, to be this close, Indiana really had to work hard. Yeah. And Christian Watford especially did a great job on Terrence Jones. Held him to 3 for 11, shooting 10 points, 8 rebounds. That's a guy that averages 20 and 10.
And he had 5 after the first minute of the game.
Yeah, exactly. So from that point on, I mean, Watford did a great job on him. I mean, those guys were just like running around all over the place. And by that 4-minute mark, I mean, some of those guys were gassed. Watford especially looked exhausted.
He admitted afterwards too. He was like, they did a lot of different stuff. They were double teaming. But I was tired.
Yeah. No, he looked beat. I mean, they looked beat. And, once shots stopped falling, they lost some momentum, and they just, again, really looked exhausted. But, I mean, they had really, played their hearts out up until that point, just really done everything they were supposed to do, did everything they could just to defend them. And it was another one of those cases, like you said. I mean, Kentucky's just superior athletically. And, you add to the stud freshmen that they already have, and even guys like Liggins and Miller, who've been underrated, are really good players. A guy like Josh Harrelson is just a beast. He's 6'10", 260 or whatever, goes for 14 and 12 today. The guy, really has obviously stepped up, especially rebounding-wise this year. I mean, he's really kind of the unsung hero of this group. And, they couldn't stop him from getting the ball. And that's why they, in Kentucky had 21 second chance points. I think 18 offensive rebounds, something like that. Won the rebound battle 45-33. And that's the way that you can kind of grind somebody out of it. I mean, it wasn't a grinding game, but that's kind of still the effect. I guess if you put shots up and you keep getting the ball back, and you keep having to defend for longer and longer and longer, that's how you wear a team out.
Yeah, and there's so many possessions too where offensively or defensively, Indiana would get their hand on the rebound, and then Kentucky, through its sheer physicality and sheer athleticity,
would just get a finger on it and tip it up in the air.
Right, and Indiana just wasn't strong enough with the ball. And you can. Which is odd because, in the sense of Indiana has gone through now the weightlifting and off-season conditioning program. Yeah. A lot of these Kentucky kids had it, but you see the difference in just sheer ability and just sheer physicality and just how much that matters.
Yeah. No, I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to even say, like, Indiana looked weak out there.
I wouldn't
say that.
They did it. But there were a lot of times when they got the ball, they got their fingers on the ball first, and they didn't end up with the ball.
And Kentucky just kind of rested it away. And again, it wasn't like you're looking at Indiana's a weak-looking team. It was like Kentucky's just a strong-looking team.
Yeah.
Harrelson especially. Indiana has a lot of guys that are closer to that now, but nobody of kind of that just size and whatever. And again, some of it's just athletes and speed. Like Jones. I mean, you don't realize Jones is 6'8", 244. Like. You don't look at him and realize he's as thick as he is, but he is. I mean, he looks kind of
he's so
like long and rangy and stuff like that, but and it's kind of spread out over his frame or whatever. But I mean, that's a big dude too. I mean, those guys got some size, they got some speed, and there were so many guys that they have to defend. I mean, DeAndre Liggins is the 4th, 5th, 6th guy you're thinking about when you're game planning for this team, and he goes off for 19 and 9. So, that's the kind of stuff you're dealing with.
Right. They did well against the guys that they had to do well against. They held Jones at 10.
They held the team to 31.6%.
Yeah, they held Deron Lamb to 9. This guy scored 24 against Carolina.
Yeah.
Brandon Knight was 3 of 8 from the field. He ended up with 18 because he was 10 of 10 from the line.
Yeah.
Defensively, Indiana was great. I think that was maybe the thing that was most surprising to me, just because Indiana was great defensively in the first 8 games, but there's a difference obvious difference between who they played in those first games.
Being great against Northwestern State and being great against Kentucky.
Right. So, I was surprised how well Indiana was able to play defense for so long.
I was surprised how well it translated. You knew that they were better defensively, but this was kind of the situation where you find out, okay, on what level, to what degree, on what, where on the spectrum are they a good defensive team. And they're pretty good. I don't know if they're going to lock everybody down, but when you can hold a team like this with this much firepower and this much talent, 31.6%, you've done something. Again, there was a lot of fouling going on, and it's, should the disparity have been that great? Maybe, maybe not. But there were situations when Indiana's just a little bit out of place, and they just had to do something to keep the ball from going in, and they ended up fouling people.
Dustin, when does this series get to the point when both teams are equal?
Either next year or 2 years from now. Yeah. This was a big step today.
It was.
You definitely, for the first 30 minutes of this game, you definitely feel like you were in a rivalry game. Like the crowd, crowd's going back and forth. Every time Kentucky makes a run, Indiana silences it. They hit some big, big shots up until that point. There were several occasions when Rupp is starting to blow up, and Liggins hits a 3 or Knight hits a 3, or there's that shot that lesser teams fall apart on. And there was a couple times when Jordan Hollis just came down and answered with 1-3, and then Watford with another, and they hit some big shots. They kept coming back every time, and so this is a big step. This is something that the last 2 teams definitely would not have done. So you're a lot closer right now. And then you start adding players. When you start adding Cody Zeller, and you start adding Hunter Perea and Peter Jerkin and Etherington and Patterson and Farrell, then you're there.
Yeah. Right, and I wonder, too, because, let's be real. We're going to see another different Kentucky team in Bloomington next year.
Terrence Jones won't be here.
Terrence Jones won't be here. Brandon Knight's not going to be here. Deron Lamb's probably not going to be here.
Deron Lamb gets the Eric Bledsoe choice. Do I want to hang around
and be the superstar, or do I want to...
Yeah. Or, and that's the thing, too. If you're Deron Lamb, Michael Gilchrist is coming in. How many shots do you get?
Gilchrist comes in. Teague comes in.
Right. Well, Teague's not the guy you're worrying about if you're Lamb. Gilchrist is the guy that's getting your shots.
Have you ever played with Teague? Other guys don't see the ball. Just saying.
Fair point.
I'm just saying.
But Teague is supposed to be Brandon Knight, Tyreek Evans, Derrick Rose. That's his position, and Gilchrist is going to get the ball a lot. But yeah, so Lamb is the maybe not.
Kyle Wilcher, I think is how you pronounce his last name's coming in.
Yeah.
So we're going to see that team. It's going to be another great group of really talented freshmen that everyone's talking about nationally.
Yeah.
It's expected to do so much, and
it always is.
Right, and Indiana's going to have seniors and juniors, and Oladipo and Sheehy, and a really talented guy starting at the 4.
Right. It'll be next year. It'll be decent. But when 2 years from now, they're going to be able to put together a freshman class that's close to what Kentucky's going to have.
Well, right now, Kentucky's going to go and get their guys.
Yeah, Kentucky's going to go get their guys. Somehow, some way, Kentucky probably still ekes out the number 1 class in the country that year.
Right,
somehow,
but it may be 1-2.
That's just what they do.
It probably will. I will say it will be 1-2 in some form.
Exactly, maybe 1-2 when they can throw in. If IU can throw out Farrell and if they get Gary Harris, obviously, then you're looking at a very even matchup, and Indiana's going to have guys that have stayed, whereas Kentucky, in most parts, is going to have guys that have left.
Yeah.
So that's right at the point. 2012, I think, is when it's a very, very real rivalry again.
Sounds good. Dustin, how many points does Indiana beat SIU by?
I don't know how
Iowa beat them by 61.
Oh my God. I don't think I realized
Iowa 111, SIU 50.
Yeah,
and South Carolina State is 4-4, but the 4 wins are against non-Division I opponents.
Next week's
going to be terrible.
Vegas.
But Vegas.
Vegas.
Vegas. We're staying in the Mandalay Bay.
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be nice. We're going to roll. All right, thanks everyone.